Hi, it's Mary Bartos with Bartos Group of Premier Plus, and my good friend
Randy Williams, TBF Mortgage.
We're just going to jump into it because April was such a crazy month in finance, government, et cetera, which affects actually housing market. Randy, and tell us what Doug Duncan at Fannie Mae is saying.
Yeah, on a quarterly basis, home prices rose a seasonally adjusted 1% in quarter one 2023. The fact that home prices rose slightly in the first quarter is evidence of a significant pent-up mortgage demand, despite ongoing affordability constraints.
Yeah, and these are nationwide, not necessarily our market, because one of the things that's interesting is in the first quarter kind of moves you into a spring market in that preceding market, in northern markets, which, demand started to pick up and prices went up, which is awesome. What about Andy Walden? What did he say from Black Knight?
Just 5 months ago, prices were declining on a seasonally adjusted month-over-month basis in 92% of all U.S. markets. Mm-hmm. Fast forward to March, and the situation has done a literal 180, with prices now rising in 92% of the markets from February.
That's crazy.
It's awesome.
Yeah, crazy awesome. What we saw, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, is April was kind of an interesting month that preceded June, July, August, but we were back on track with where we were in those months. I love when the analysts change their forecasts and look at what Fannie Mae is changing it in a positive way.
Yeah, and you can honestly feel it too. I know you can feel it, and I can certainly feel it in my business too.
Exactly. Yeah. So March report, they said we were going to see a negative 4.2%.
Right.
And in April, 1.2 negative.
Yep.
Not bad. Well, Randy, one of the things that's interesting to me is we get a lot of people that come down into Southwest Florida that tell us the prices are going to fall again. It's a little bit like Chicken Little. The sky is going to fall, and what's happening, foreclosures, we just know the price is going to happen. So, one of the reasons price stays up is the type of market you're in. Mm-hmm. So you can see from this graph, a neutral market is somewhere between 6 and 7 months of inventory on the market at any one time.
Correct.
As a nation, we are less than 6 months, which is phenomenal.
I agree. It's a normal, healthy market.
It's a normal, healthy market. Now, let alone when you start to go that, and the news is meant to terrify and not clarify. So what are they saying about foreclosures right now?
U.S. foreclosure activity continues to climb in quarter one 2023.
Woo, scary.
Yeah.
More Americans are losing their homes. Oh, scary. Foreclosures are on the rise. Scary. U.S. foreclosures jumped 22%. So, Randy, you've been in this business a long time, and, this is just a small snapshot back to 2017. Mm-hmm. But look at the foreclosures and how short we are. Now, if you're in a foreclosure situation, please, we are not by any stretch of the imagination trying to belittle that situation. But when you look at nationally as a whole, there are hardly any foreclosures.
Mary, I think you and I entered this business around the same time, and we have certainly seen markets where we've helped several people buy foreclosures a lot. I can't recall one person probably in the last 3 to 4 years that has made an offer on a foreclosure with me. They're just not there. They're simply not. And a certain number of foreclosures is healthy. It's expected with the real estate market.
Sure.
But for you and me, have you ever seen less foreclosures in your life?
No. And one of the things I want to talk about why that is how much wealth we have in our homes. But before we get there, Randy, the thing that's hitting around in the news, and again, meant to terrify, not clarify, is, oh my goodness, oh my stars, a mild recession. Mm-hmm. What are we going to have? It's starting later this year with recovery over subsequent 2 years. That to some people sounds scary, when in reality, when it comes to housing, let's see what the Fed meeting summary was in March.
Yeah, given their assessment of the potential economic effects of the recent banking sector developments, the staff's projection at the time of March meeting included that a mild recession starting later this year with a recovery over the subsequent 2 years.
Not bad, because we've been in inflation. They've been throwing, grit into the interest rates to make them go higher, right, into the economy.
Well, Mary, I think it's just that it was a smoking hot market and it has to recess just a little bit. Recession has such a negative connotation, and it doesn't have to be.
Well said. If you look at what a recession is defined by the economic research NABOR or NEBOR, significant decline in economic activity spread across the economy, lasting for more than a few months. Normally visible in real GDP, real income, employment, industrial production, and wholesale retail sales. So, what does this mean for us with a recession that may be looming in the future? How is that going to impact housing? So, tell me what bank rate's saying.
During a traditional recession, the Fed will usually lower interest rates. This creates an incentive for people to spend money and stimulate the economy. It also typically leads to more affordable mortgage rates, which leads to more opportunity for homebuyers.
Which I love. Now, if you've been a follower of our market update for multiple years, this chart will be really near and dear your heart, because in the last 6 recessions, prices only fell twice. So just because we're going into recession doesn't mean prices are going to fall. And one of those was in 2008, and that was a whole debacle for a lot of different reasons. But if you throw that one out, 1991, the last recession that it dipped, was really minus 1.9%. So really not a lot. But on the flip side of this, Randy, what does it do for mortgage rates?
And well, traditionally, it will improve for the buyer.
Right.
It will go down.
Right. So look at this based on those same dates. It went down in 81, which honestly, I bought my first house in 86. I'm dating myself.
What was your interest rate?
14%. Probably
6% is so high, Mary.
Right. But it went down 5% in 81, and then 91 it went down 2.25%. I mean, it's really, from a standpoint of recession with mortgage rate, is a positive. Now, this is a crazy slide, Randy, because when you start to look at this and you look at all the money that is in homes, in mortgages, it is hard to give up, on a lifeline from a mortgage rate of less than 3%, less than 4%, less than 5%. And that's those red items, bars on the left is what, 83% are under 5% mortgage interest rates.
We've never been there in the history of our country.
No. So that affordability factor is great. But I do want you to talk about that in a little minute, because, don't get seduced by a mortgage interest rate. I think I've heard you say it, maybe a little less sexy than I just said. Anyway, but what is happening? Look at this, Randy. 38.7 people own their homes free and clear. That is huge. And then another are really equity rich, and that's 28.9%, have greater than 50% equity, which is fabulous. So, when you're only looking at 32.4% people that actually, have equity less than 50%, again, like you said, it's one of the things right now that we've never seen in our history.
Yeah, it's a place where most families tap into their wealth. It's where a lot of people's wealth is for their whole family is tapped into their house and into their mortgage and into their equity and into their appreciation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what's happening in our neck of the woods, so to speak? So you've seen me give this chart before. I updated each month. What we were seeing last year is prices month over month were increasing. So they did that again in January and February. In March and April, they did reduce from the previous years, but we also had some pretty incredible March and April last year, at least the first part of April. But if you look at the number of homes sold, those have been month over month less from the previous year. And that has been a 2-year cycle that we've been under anyway, because either A, we didn't have inventory, or people were getting into multiple offers and they couldn't find something. If you start to look at that, we're in a really great place right now when it comes to affordability, getting time to look at a property, things from that nature. Now, I know this is a really hard slide to see, Randy, but I really wanted to share it with you. These are homes for sale. And when you look at the headline at the top right, it says we've had a 91.5% increase in the last year in homes for sale. That's scary. But when you look at it from February of 19, we're down, but at the peak, we're down by 50%. So to me, we went down unusually in COVID, and we've come back up, and we're starting to find our foothold, but we're still half the inventory in the entire MLS than we had in 19 in 1 month. Similarly, if I look at months supply, is that, again, this is kind of a funny slide because it's 153% increase in months supply now from a year ago.
And that's coming from actually having very little supply, though. It's just,
right.
Yeah.
Right. So we went from 1.5 months supply
Right.
to 3.8 months supply. And if you go back to that chart that I had earlier,
Right.
remember a balanced market is 6 to 7 months.
Correct.
So we are still in a seller's market. Now, Mr. Seller, you're out there. Miss Seller, you're out there. Don't look at this as every place in Southwest Florida is the same. It is not. Marco Island is a balanced market, 6 to 7 months of inventory on the market. If I look at some communities in Estero, Corkscrew, the Preserve, I think, they're less than 3 months supply. So you really have to look at the community to understand what is important to you, where the market is. And as a buyer, you need to understand how much it's going off list. If you really want to put in an attractive offer, and, people are doing concessions now. You've probably seen that.
Oh, in the last 6 months alone, I would say a third of my transactions have been seller concessions.
Which is fabulous.
Right.
Randy, we always end this with, is it time to move?
I think you could speak more to the selling aspect of it. But on the buyer side, I can tell you this. There's a couple different kinds of investors. The people who sort of think that they're investors, and then the real investors.
True.
And those real investors, I'm learning a lot from them right now because they are buying the house at the price they want it. And they're knowing that those interest rates over time are going to go down. But right now, they're more focused on getting that property at the exact price they want. There's some savvy buyers out there right now.
I love that. And if you're a seller and it's time to sell and move for your reasons, cashing out, going back north, downsizing, upsizing, whatever your reasons are, we can help you through that process. But with a great partner and our mortgage lender and TBF Mortgage Company, we can help pull this whole transaction together easily for you. So until next time, I'm Mary Bartos with the Bartos Group of Premier Plus.
Randy Williams, TBF Mortgage.
And we look forward to seeing you next month in the Housing Update.